And then one day, came in, opened the door, the phone's ringing. Apparently had been ringing for a long time because it was my brother who said, Dad's dead. It snaps you into perspective.
But do you look back and think, I'm kind of glad at the perspective shift that took place because of it?
It was 6 years of, I was just lost. Looking back, it's easy to see this pattern now. I didn't see it then. I wasn't paying attention.
You're taking on something that has never been done before. What's the secret to the stamina? Like, how have you kept at it like this?
Is it stubbornness or stupidity? I don't know which.
Welcome to First and Focused, the podcast where faith meets leadership. I know you're going to put me on the spot. I don't know what you're going to ask me to say. I'm Mark Greaves, and in each episode, I sit down with business and industry leaders who put God first in their work and stay focused on building his kingdom through their calling. I could sit here and talk with you all day.
Keep up the great work, brother. The Lord is using you powerfully. I love you. I love watching what Jesus is doing in your life.
Well, welcome to First and Focused, where we interview leaders from various industries who are putting God first through their work and staying focused on building the kingdom through their various callings. Today, we are here with Mr. Andy Dickson. So,
Thanks, Mark.
Andy, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited because we haven't had anybody from the tech space really on the show yet. We've had finance. Yeah. We've ministry, all kinds of different stuff, but.
Yeah, this was new for me, and I have become an expert at it, but I certainly wasn't and didn't train for this. But here we are 20 years later.
So we're going to get deep into the weeds of nanotechnology today. Well, some of the weeds, maybe not deep in the weeds.
Right. We have to bring in the experts for that.
Yeah. Well, let me rip an intro here for you so people know who we're talking to here. All right, Andy Dickson, you are a seasoned entrepreneur, venture builder, and innovator at the forefront of advanced materials and nanotechnology. Sorry, that was a mouthful. With more than 25 years of experience as a founder, operator, and investor, you've built and scaled multiple companies at the intersection of science, tech, and real-world application. You're the founder and former CEO of SmartPaint, an Ohio State-connected spin-out that evolved into Nanotherm, pioneering carbon-based heating technologies that can be applied as ultra-thin films and coatings across industries from automotive to energy. Today, you serve as CEO of Novara, a company launched in partnership with Battelle to commercialize next-generation heating solutions and cutting-edge nanotechnology, bringing scalable, efficient, and sustainable thermal innovation to the market. In addition to your work in tech, you are the founding partner of Carbon Ventures, an Ohio-based venture firm connected to the Ohio State University, where you invest and mentor the next generation of entrepreneurs. You're a husband to Leslie, father to Alex and Jordan, amateur silversmith, which I'm the recipient of one of those amazing amateur gifts, and a lover and follower of Jesus, which is how we met.
That is exactly right. And frankly, it sounds a lot more exciting than it is, but I am a silversmith probably because I was not good at woodworking, and I'm an entrepreneur, I think, because I'm otherwise unemployable. So
you're a bad employee, a bad woodworker. Yeah, so that's what I should have just led with. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's all his shortcomings, but hey, man, you're able to heat silver up to a molten level and pour liquid silver around into things.
It's fascinating. I love it. So,
which is crazy. Well, I got my Script Ohio ornament, and since you gave it to me, it's gone up in value since silver price has been spiking.
It's getting a lot more expensive to do this.
I was going to say, yeah. Where do you get your silver?
Well, so far I've been melting down what I have, so I've had a reserve of it, but you can buy it from all kinds of places, and then they'll ship it to you in whatever form you want.
Is it different than like silver bars, or do you just get does it come in like different kind of?
You can get sheets or wire or whatever you need, but I end up melting it down to roll out sheets to make the ornaments that I make. So, yeah.
What do you melt it in?
I have a kiln and a crucible. So.
Oh my gosh! Like you're knee deep in this.
Yeah.
You're the modern Paul Revere.
It's serious.
Yeah, it's awesome though. You got to have a hobby. All right, so before we even get into the bulk of your resume and things, like whether it's the tech or the venture funds that you're doing, we met on a trip to Israel.
Yes.
So we go to the same church. Yes. So that was 3 years ago last month.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, isn't that kind of crazy? It seems like yesterday. Uh-huh. But so we got to go all around Israel and Galilee, and then even up to Turkey together. And so that was our initial meeting, but my question for you is, how did you come to faith, and how has your faith evolved over the years? Kind of give us the story of how that took place.
Yeah, so I grew up, I thought it was pretty typical, normal childhood, small town Ohio, and we attended church almost every week. So we went, and I knew the stories, and I heard the stories, but I don't think there was any involvement outside of the Sunday, 1 hour a week on Sunday, right? And now I look back and think, oh, if you stood in a field for an hour a week, you don't become a cow. And going to church for an hour a week doesn't make you a Christian. But a lot of people, that's how it works, and that's how it was for us. During college, really didn't go to church at all. But when we had kids, we knew we had to get back and show them where the well was, and decided to send them to Catholic schools here in Columbus, which I think was mostly so that they would know where the well would be, right?
Yeah.
And I did ask our pastor about it because we're Protestant. And he said, look, they've been doing this for 50 years or more. They're not going to try to convert anybody. It's a great choice for you.
Yeah.
And so we did. And it turned out, well for them, prepared them well for college and for now their jobs. But our daughter actually brought us to Rock City. She attended an event in Atlanta called Kairos, which they had a lot of worship music, and she came back raving about this and saying, we've got to find a church like that. And so we went to one in Dallas called Gateway, and it was like Rock City, only about 5 times bigger.
Yeah.
Came back to Columbus and said, okay, let's start looking. We found Rock City when they were at the Arlington High School. Pretty much fell in love with it and have gone ever since. Then I got into small groups and started leading a small group and reading the Word every day, and things just transformed. It wasn't a magical moment, but it was a evolution.
Yeah.
The trip to Israel, frankly, was the most transformative, impactful, life-changing thing we've done. To walk where Jesus walked, to see things that he saw, float on the Sea of Galilee, be baptized in the Jordan River. These were amazing things that brought the whole story to life, made it all very real. And actually, when I got back, I had to reread all these stories that I knew because now I'd seen it. And
same.
And it just changes everything, and it really deepened everything. So I think growing up, I had an acquaintance with Jesus, and now I have a relationship, I'd say, and it's getting deeper, hopefully, every day.
Yeah, I love how you describe it as an evolution, because it's not just you weren't paying attention at all, and all of a sudden there was just like clear spark moment.
Yeah. I hear those stories, but I've never had that happen.
Which I think those stories are incredible, and that's what gets reported a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think that also just as influential, Jesus has a different path for all of us, but for those of us who knew about him in our heads, and then versus, feeling the relationship in our hearts, a lot of times there's a journey that needs to connect those dots at some point.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's what you experienced.
It is. And it's still happening, right? The more you know you don't know, and the more there is to learn. So
it's also cool that your daughter is the one that kind of was one of the ones that provided the spark that really took a turn for this.
Watch her worship compared to watching her endure the hour-long Presbyterian service.
Yeah.
Where you're not allowed to clap, by the way. They won't let you do that. It's
no noise.
No noise.
Yeah.
They're the Frozen Chosen, which I always liked.
That's pretty funny, actually. Every denomination has their own little stereotypes of different things like that, for sure.
Yeah. So anyhow, we're very glad we've landed where we did, and love working there and leading small group there. So
yeah, and I see you up on stage doing the film crew,
yes,
which is awesome.
Tech nerds. So we do that. So, but the purpose of that, though, is to bring it to others, right? The people in prison and the people in nursing homes and the ones who can't make it to church.
Yeah,
they're going to still get the message, and we know it has an impact. So
how many prisons are being broadcast now? It's like 400 or 500 or even more than that. Maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of people getting that message because we put it out on TV.
That's pretty cool.
So.
All right. Well, I want to pivot back into early career Andy before we get into some of these more recent things. But you started off at CompuServe, which for a lot of people listening, they're not even going to know what CompuServe is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when CompuServe went out of business, but
late 90s, I think.
Okay, but they were like a pioneer. They were on the forefront of technology, and that took you down to Texas.
Yes. So the technology was easy for me. I was programming computers at 13, got a degree in CIS or computer science from Ohio State, got a job at CompuServe, and we didn't realize it, but we were all entrepreneurs in a big company, right? We were changing the world. Everything you could do on the internet, you could do on CompuServe first. So whether it was shopping or airline tickets or brokerage accounts or whatever, it was online there. And I loved it. It was a fascinating time. And that took us to Texas at a startup during the first internet bubble. So white hot economy, everything's going public. Everybody's cashing out stock options, right?
Yeah.
And we were going to go dive into that ride. And it was very exciting. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I was working 16 hours a day.
You married at this point?
Yeah, we were married. I was married, and we moved in '97, I think it was. I believed that that's the path, right? We're going to put in the time, cash out the options, buy the ranch, get a boat on Lake Travis. It was all going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then one day we had been out looking for a home, and came in, opened the door, the phone's ringing. Nobody had cell phones back then. And it apparently had been ringing for a long time because it was my brother who said, "Dad's dead." And I didn't even understand what he just said. Turns out he had teed off on number 9, did not make it to the second shot. So a big life-altering event, right? And snaps you into perspective. So we buried Dad in Ohio, and I went back to Austin and sat down with our CEO, and I said, "Look, I cannot do weekends anymore. I'm going to be home for dinner with my wife from now on." And he said to me, he goes, "If you don't come in on Saturday, then don't bother to come in Sunday. You're fired." And I'm like, we don't see the same world, so
Yeah.
I'm out. And I had my summer of severance, which it's good. I mean, I improved my golf game that summer, but that was the end of the dream in Austin and the dream of the IPO and all those things that everybody else was riding. So.
Yeah. And at that point, you're a young man and you have a perspective shift very early in life.
Yes.
Man, are looking back now, obviously you wouldn't think to yourself, "Man, I'm glad my dad died that day." But do you look back and think, "I'm kind of glad at the perspective shift that took place because of it"? Like, how do you view that now?
I am grateful for it. I wish it had happened when he was 50 or 91, not 51.
Yeah.
But, I've also seen family members slowly decline or die of cancer. He didn't have to do that, go through it. I didn't get to say goodbye, but it ultimately was a very good perspective shift for
the lesson it taught you.
Yeah.
The priorities for your life.
And I believe he's been, one of the guardian angels ever since.
Yeah.
Helping and guiding.
So the reason I like to unpack these journeys is because when you move back to Ohio from Texas, it's not like you just jump right into what you're doing now and everything's just up and to the right. There was this waiting period where you were at Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, as a mentor at Ohio State,
Tell us about that.
So that was actually the darkest period, and I would call it the worst suffering I went through until, later, but I was lost. I took a job I just missed the wave of the internet, right? The dream's over, find another dream.
Yep.
I took a job at an incubator to try to find another startup. And in the meantime, I also took a position as a mentor at Ohio State. I thought maybe they'll bring me some technology that'll be interesting, and I'll find the next great thing there. And boy, it was 6 years I was just lost, not finding good technology. I was drinking too much because I was filling in the gap, right? A lot of men do this.
Yep.
And so
Been there.
Period, right? Dark period. And finally, one day they bring out this nanotechnology, this multi-wall carbon nanotube. And I watched as these two students took this powdery substance. It looks like the toner cartridge, toner in your printer. And they made a sheet of it, and it heated up with a small voltage. And it was like, that's it. I'm going to start a company with that. It'll change the world. I can be a part of that. Found my thing. So I started a company back then called Nanofabrics. It has evolved, obviously, a few times over the years. But, it was not a particularly good time, but it did lead to where I am. And I didn't recognize it at the time, but God was using that period to sort of begin forming character, right? Paul talks about that chain of suffering that produces character, you endure, you have the suffering, which gives you the endurance, which gives you character, which then leads to hope. And looking back, it's easy to see this pattern now. I didn't see it then. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, even Paul, I just recently learned, had to go through a period of waiting. Like when he went back to Tarsus, there was 10 years. He basically lived in a cave before he went out into his ministry.
It was 10 years.
It was a decade between, his conversion on the road to Damascus and when he actually went out and started doing like real ministry. It wasn't just like the next day. What do you think that period of waiting, why do you think God orchestrated that?
I don't know, but I did learn a lot. I learned a lot about myself as well in that time. But the other thing that drove part of the fear was this fear of disappointing my wife and letting down, failing for the family, not being a success. Every man, well, I believe that women like to see their men on a white horse, right? But we all fall off. Everybody does. And I was so afraid, I was petrified that I would let them down, that I wouldn't ever find that startup and ever find the success and the things that we all chase. And that was what I think led to some of the other issues. Now, because of it, I've been able to help other people. I even have family members and friends that I've been able to help talk about their addiction in different ways. So I'm in that regard, I'm glad it happened.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. Well, I think that what you're doing now, you're taking on something that has never been done before. Pioneering anything new is tough. I mean, especially in like the technology space. Like when you're new to market with some new, whether it's a material or an idea, whatever it is, it's not just immediately adopted. You've been at it for a while.
Yeah, this has been 20 years.
So what's the secret to the stamina? Like how have you kept at it like this?
I think it comes down to, well, there's some notion of whether is it stubbornness or stupidity. I don't know which, but this is part of the endurance, right? We are supposed to run the race that was set before us.
Yeah.
And we don't know how long the race is. We don't know the course we're going to take, but our job is to just run that race. I wildly underestimated how long it would take for this to be adopted as a usable technology.
What did you think it would be?
A few years, right?
Yeah. You
startups back then were, 3 to 4 years, you have an IPO and it's great. Well, that was software, not hard tech. So what it comes down to is nobody wants to be the first zebra at the watering hole, right? They all look around saying, who else is doing this? Nobody else was doing it. And in fact, a lot of people equated nanomaterials with asbestos. They thought it was going to be a carcinogen. They thought it was health issues. So we had to get through that. But now the other fear that people have is fear of missing out. So when we do get that first one, the first domino to fall, I think it'll be, the race is on. It'll accelerate from there.
Yeah.
And we're close. We're talking with a lot of tier one providers for automotive. We're talking with, we're doing a project out at Ohio State for snow melt and radiant heat. And I've been using it in my house, of course, for years. So I don't shovel snow, and we have several of the floors are heated that way. So I know it works. It's just a matter of convincing others that it works.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we were talking right before we started recording. I feel like it's going to be one of those overnight success stories where all of a sudden it's everywhere and everybody's got to have it and everybody knows about it. And you'll be like, yeah, I've been talking about this for 25 years trying to get people to adopt it. Yeah. What's been the hardest part? Is it the health concerns or is it just the cost initially?
It was the cost. So when I started, a gram of this material was $500. So $500 a gram. That's not a commercially viable price. Now it's about 8 cents.
Oh, wow.
So it's come down a lot. At time. And that means I can make things, and we're now doing it in roll-to-roll form, so it's a very thin film, and you can make 1 million feet of it in a handful of hours, not.
So can you describe what it is for the listeners? Because when they hear nanotechnology and when you hear you can heat things up, like, what is it?
It's really what I call a functional pigment. So imagine that you can put pigment in a paint and make it any color. This is a pigment you can put into a coating and give it new function. So in this case, it's heat or static or electromagnetic, shielding, those kinds of things. We're now putting it in this film format, which means I'm making what I call heat tape. And anywhere you can put this tape, you can generate heat. And ultimately, we want it on airplane wings and places like that. And that's what this merger with Battelle has been really helpful at, right? They can bring clients to us that we would never get on our own, and they have resources, vast resources that we won't ever get. So, yeah, they're bringing us aerospace engineering and NASA type opportunities that we just weren't going to get.
So, Can you describe a couple like functionalities just so people can get an idea? Like you mentioned airplane wings. Like what are some of like the practical applications that it would be used for?
So we're going to put it into electric vehicles, in passenger heating, in battery heating. In the old world, they're using this, what they call nichrome wire that's just stitched into the car seat, and it heats up. That technology was patented in 1905. Nothing has changed.
That's what the heated seats are in the car right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have this very thin film, and it becomes more important in things like drones and EVs because it's so lightweight. It heats up instantly and with very little voltage. So we're able to generate the heat we need with about half the power that it currently takes. So in a Tesla, for example, you turn on the heater, it's 3,000 watts of power. When we were using our films to heat the entire car, it was about a third of that. And if you're only heating the driver, which is most of the time, it's about 10%.
Wow.
So now we're using 10% of the power to do the job that, which means the cars go farther.
Yeah, the battery life lasts way, way longer.
Right.
Yeah. So why isn't this everywhere already? Like that's the question I have is like now that the cost has been reduced.
It really, I think, came down to manufacturability, right? And so now that we can make it at great scale, that should happen much faster.
Yeah.
So we've partnered with a company that has been doing films for 25 years. Some of their films are already on cars. So some of those hurdles are now getting a lot shorter.
Yeah. So the lid's about to come off a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to be excited for that.
I am. I think we're still in the hope phase, but we're looking at the harvest. So it's coming.
Yeah. So this isn't on our script, but like, let's say that this all comes to fruition. Is it hard for you to imagine like what's next in life because you've been trying to tackle this problem now for so long? Like how do you have vision for the future?
Well, we'll get to that other story later, but I am comfortable. Number one, I used to think I was keeping a scoreboard for myself, right? I had to have a certain amount of money in my bank account by a certain age. And I've been, that perspective is now gone. I know is all for the kingdom. So I want to end this world with nothing left in the bank and give as much as I can. So every day when I get up, I'm on mission. Mm-hmm. Right? I am glad of that because I always thought, and what I was taught in the Presbyterian church was, if you want to be a missionary, you've got to go to a jungle somewhere and build a house, or you've got to go to Africa and dig a well. I didn't want to do that at all. And recently I've been in this men's group for a while now, and he's been very good at convincing us that, no, every day at work is your mission.
Yeah.
When you get up and do this work, that's what it's for. And so I know now that what I'm doing is for the kingdom.
Yeah. Which,
by the way, all the anxiety kind of goes away because now you're not carrying the weight of the outcome. You're just carrying the weight of the endurance.
Yeah.
Just get up and do what I can and keep going.
That's a really good perspective because God owns the outcomes, but to get up and go do what we're called, that's what he says, pick up our cross daily and follow him. Yeah. The endurance part is up to us. The outcome, it is up to him.
Yeah. And we can't do it without him and he won't do it without us. So we're working together here to change the world.
Wow. That's really cool. That's a really good perspective. All right. So I'm going to shift gears because somewhere in the mix of this, Leslie is when, your wife, she comes down with a pretty difficult, situation medically, cancer combined with another pretty rare condition, right?
Yes, very.
And I know obviously, whether it was your father dying earlier in your career and then your wife, all of a sudden now it's looking like her life maybe hangs in the balance. That does a lot to shift priorities, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So take us through that. And then what did that teach you about your marriage and the way that you prioritize?
So, Leslie was diagnosed with amyloidosis, and multiple myeloma, and very rare condition. But and when it happened, I couldn't even pronounce that word. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, what was the word again?
Amyloidosis.
Amyloidosis.
It's a defective protein that's folded and it is sticky and it attaches.
Why don't they just name it something we can say?
I know. Well, then they couldn't get paid what they do.
Yeah, that's true.
So it turns out that the only way to fix that is through a bone marrow transplant. And there were two specialists in the country at the time, one in Scottsdale, Arizona, and thankfully one at the James at Ohio State. So we had world-class care, available 5 minutes from our house. And we began that process. And so ultimately what she had to donate, it was an autologous bone marrow transplant. But the chemo completely wipes out your immune system. So she has a zero immune system for a period of time. We're at the James for about 2 weeks, getting that whole process done. And then the recovery was about a year. And thankfully, by God's grace, she's in remission. In fact, we're going to celebrate her 4th birthday here coming up. Bone marrow transplant people get a second birthday. And so I've been joking with her since. She's catching up to me. In fact, this year she'll pass me in age.
Well, she's been doubling up now for...
Right, exactly. So she doesn't see it that way. But during that time, I was actually reading Revelation for comfort. And we,
oh, that's a nice comforting book.
Exactly.
There you go.
And I was honestly wishing that I could have cancer for her. So when you get to a point in life when you're reading Revelation for comfort,
yeah,
and you're wishing you could get cancer, then you're not so worried about your cap table and your Series A and your, what didn't get done at work.
Yeah, what investor has what to say? Yeah, right. It's things. Yeah.
So in fact, I was. We were looking for a replacement for me at Novara. We were looking for a new CEO, so I could just be at home.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately didn't need that, but it does shift your perspective 100%, and reminded me again, I didn't mention it the first time, but James tells us your life is a mist.
Yeah.
And there's my second reminder now of that same concept, and I know it's true. And so these reminders help shape your character, and in this case, I knew at this point God was absolutely doing this. And carrying us through that storm.
Yeah. How long have you guys been married?
33 years, 33 or 3.
Have you gotten closer because of it?
Oh, much, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. In fact, that was one of the things. We got to be baptized together in the Jordan River, and that was a pretty special moment. Just felt different than any other time. So, yeah, it does bring us. It brought us closer together, and I just can't imagine any other outcome. So I'm so glad that we had world-class care, and I'm glad that God gave them the smarts, the wherewithal to be able to do what they do.
Yeah.
Can you imagine they take your bone marrow out, fix it, and put it back in?
No, it's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting being you in the space where you're like on the cusp of innovation, and you've been working with Carmen Ventures for so long and seen these different ideas and things coming, and then also get to experience it now, like in your wife's life. Like, hey, look at how technology, because of its advancements, was able to keep her alive.
Yeah.
It has to give you a little bit of motivation of like, hey, these new things are worth spending time and pursuing.
Absolutely, they're gonna change the world, and they're already changing the way we treat diseases and treat these kinds of conditions. So I'm very excited by it all.
So, speaking of Novara, I want to pivot into this because you've told me the stories. Like your investors now, a lot of the folks that have been key and critical in like the advancement and the investment of this, they weren't connected to you because of a pitch deck or because of some potential financial return. Like you actually identified at the heart level through faith first.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us that story and like why is that relationship different?
So yeah, actually the most obvious example of that came after we had the Israel trip. A couple years later, Rock City offered a trip to Greece where you could go in the footsteps of Paul.
Yeah.
And knowing what the Israel trip meant to us, I jumped right at it and said, we're going. And so we did. We went to Greece, and we were on this long bus ride from Philippi down to Corinth, I think it was. And I just went back to the back of the bus and started talking to a couple we had just met. And she says to me, when we get back to Columbus, I want to come by your office and see what you do. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Sounds great. She did.
You're probably thinking like, why? Yeah. Exactly. Why do you want to come watch me make heat tape?
Yeah, exactly. So she did that, and turns out not so much later became the lead investor in the company.
Wow.
And that's not a LinkedIn post or a pitch that I made or some PowerPoint deck. That's just God connecting the dots. And I see that happening all the time now as well. He's making connections happen that otherwise would never have happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't surprise me anymore. And in fact, talking about these investors coming to us, I cannot tell you. I meant to go back and look so I'd have a number, but I don't have the number. How many times in this journey has our bank account at the company been under $100 when an investor comes forward or a partner pays us? There were probably a dozen times that has happened. And always right when we need it, there's the amount we need to keep going.
It's pretty unbelievable.
It really is.
It seems to be a recurring theme on this show that happens a lot. I've asked this question to several different people. Do you ever wish that God would give you a little bit more runway where you could see a little farther down there? Because he does seem to show up when you need him, and he does seem to provide exactly what's needed for the next step. Yeah. He just doesn't provide for 15 steps in a row.
But you've got to take the step, right? You got to take the leap. And it's kind of like you can see as far as your headlights will light up. Yeah. That's kind of it. He's the lamp to our feet. It doesn't go beyond that. And it certainly didn't go by my timeline.
I've never really, I know that verse. He's a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. I just never really thought about like my lamp for my feet it's not like I have brights on, like when I'm driving in my car where I can see a mile ahead. It's the lamp for your feet is for your next couple steps. Yeah. That's really good. Well, what I think is interesting about the investor story is if it's me, they got to know you first for who you are on that grease trip.
Yeah.
So before they really understood exactly what the product was or before they saw it in action, they knew you, the founder and the leader. And arguably, I think that's maybe even more important than the technology itself.
I think it is. You have to have a relationship. And in fact, one of my investors, he invests in dozens of startups. And he called me one day and he said, why these other CEOs, they'll call me in pure chaos. The business is in chaos. They're frantic and they're asking me to write another check so they can make payroll. And he goes, every time I call you, you're very calm.
Yeah.
And it's like, I told him, I said, because I know I'm not in control. I'm just here to, answer the phone and keep things moving. So he's observed that, which means something has happened. I said the anxiety has melted away, and I'm quite sure that's the reason. So.
Yeah. So this isn't on our script, but when you think about like the product of your work, how do you quantify it now? Because you mentioned I'm working for the kingdom. All of this is for the kingdom. Do you have things in mind that you're trying to do for the kingdom?
Yeah, 100%. I, oddly enough, have this goal now we believe that there's multiple exits in this business, in architecture, in mobility, in aerospace, in medical, military. And I believe that we can give $100 million to the kingdom while I'm alive, maybe more. And the reason I love that goal is because it's completely unattainable on my own.
Yeah.
And my financial planner laughed out loud when I told him. So that's when I knew, okay, we've got something here that only God can do.
See, what's crazy is when you see the opposition and when you see people looking at it in terms of just what's possible from an earthly perspective, that's where you get excited because you're like, well, just wait to see what God provides.
Exactly. 5
loaves and 2 fish fed how many people?
Exactly. And I've even said out loud now, I wonder how much more we can give.
Yeah.
I wonder if that isn't a big enough goal.
Yeah.
So we're doing all the things you have to do technically to get that done, set up the donor advised funds and things like that. And I've got great people helping.
Yeah.
But we're ready to go.
It's just inspiring to hear because work matters. It's important. Changing the world and creating something that's better than what exists matters. And God reveals ways for us to do that. But the motive and the mission behind why we're doing it, that's what's really important.
Yeah.
Because how empty and hollow would it be if you wanted to make $100 million just to have $100 million, just to die and leave $100 million behind? It was, that doesn't sound near as exciting than I want to create this mechanism to go fuel something that God wants to do in the world, in other people's lives.
Yeah.
And then I'll go see those ripple effects in heaven someday.
I think both things I'm working on and my hobby are all things that will outlive me. So I want Carmen Ventures to be funding entrepreneurs and Buckeyes well after I'm gone.
Yeah.
I believe that this technology, of course, will be changing the way the world works, how we build buildings, how we make and use heat, the medical things we've already talked about. That's going to live well beyond me. And the silver ornaments, well, they'll be out on somebody's tree 100 years from now, and I'll be long gone. But
yeah, they'll be on somebody's free. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
that's really cool perspective. Okay, that's really good. All right, so I had these 3 words when I think about Andy Dickson: trust, surrender, and endurance. So that's literally me knowing you. I've watched you have to trust God. We just went through it. I mean, whether it's the bank account being under $100 and having to trust that He's there for the next steps. This surrender of just, hey, I don't know where this is going. You've had to sit by your wife's bedside, totally unaware of what would happen if she would live or die. And then the endurance of just like this long endurance. Do you think that accurately describes you, or how would you describe yourself?
Actually, yeah. Those are good words. I think surrender is the key word. It kind of unlocks the other two. When you can surrender fully, then you can trust God, and it gives you the power to endure the other storms that happen. You know, it's funny. When my dad died, I used to have these dreams where I would be at the tombstone and I'd pick up a phone, a corded phone. That was common then. And
you just stated yourself there.
Yeah,
Andy.
it made sense, right? Because you're talking to a distant
Did it have a rotary dialer?
No dial, just the speaking part. And I would talk to him, and this happened for 6 months or maybe a year afterwards. And I did not have that dream for a long, long time. And then recently, not all that recently, a few years ago, it happened again, and he said 2 words: finish surrendering. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that was it. And I knew.
Can you still hear his voice?
Oh yeah,
like what he sounded like?
Yeah. And I didn't necessarily see him, but I feel the presence, and the voice is crystal clear. So
neither in dreams. Man, it's interesting that you're bringing up dreams, just because I had a conversation the other day. I think that we discount things that happen in our subconscious. They didn't seem to do that in the Bible. No. Like when I read my Bible, there's a lot of dreams that they used for direction.
Yeah.
And to make decisions.
I'm lucky. I don't have, I've talked to people who say that they talk to God or they hear from God, and I believe that they do. I've never had that, but I do have these 4 a.m. moments. It's always at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's either what I'm working on, what product I'm trying to figure out, how to design some new thing, or who should I connect with that day? And I'll get a name or an idea at 4, and if I remember it when I get to work, I'll be able to implement it right. So that happens all the time. And these dreams, I'm sure, I didn't keep track, but I'm sure when I was talking to Dad, it was probably around that same time.
Yeah, that's crazy. And do you wake up and remember them?
Mostly, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's really, really cool. All right, so when you look at the future, obviously this is going to be in our everyday lives. Like where do you see the nanomaterial at play for the average person?
It'll be invisible to them. It'll just be in the walls, in the floor, in all around them, in the materials that we use to build the world. They'll be lighter, stronger, just better materials. And you'll never really know, I don't think, why things work so much better than they used to. But they will.
Do you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life?
Well, I'd like to be. There's a lifetime of opportunity here. But if either I decide or somebody, the board decides for me that I'm not the right guy to lead Novara, I'll be happy to move on, and I'll just go run with Carmen and find and fund the next entrepreneurs. That is so energizing to me, to be able to hear a new pitch about a new company or a new idea, and then dig into the details of that, and then help them take those steps, and hopefully help them avoid some of the pitfalls that I went through, and build redemptive businesses. And the real key, by the way, for Carmen is not the money we put in, it's the network. We're going to leverage the alumni of Ohio State. We've got 630,000 living alumni around the world. And what I want to do is leverage that network so that they can get involved in the companies, mentor the companies, serve on the board, and make connections that otherwise wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And that's much more valuable than the money we give them.
That's really cool. So I want to pivot into this question. I know what you want to do for the kingdom through your work with the proceeds. Is there anything that you've been able to do incorporating your faith while at work?
To the extent, I've been told not to put Bible verses in our business plan. I've been told not to put it on our website. We do start every week with our, the gratitudes and that sort of thing.
What's that about?
Just having everybody go around the table and tell what it is they're grateful for. So we can start the week with that frame of mind, frame of reference. I don't think we're quite as sophisticated as you are at Tithe, where almost every meeting probably starts in prayer.
Yeah, but the gratitude is a good start because who are you grateful to for what? Like you can be grateful for something, but there has to ultimately be a source that's the provider.
Provider. Yeah.
So even if it's not a direct connection, that's an indirect connection that you're making with what you're allowed to do.
Right.
I think that's good.
And then we do start the board meetings with prayer, so that at least for a few minutes we settle the chaos and set the stage for what we hope is a productive session.
You start your board meetings with prayer?
Mm-hmm.
Has that always been that way?
No.
Is everybody a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
It helps.
Yeah, that helps quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. So I think it's the right way to frame that setting. And I also probably do it so that when they're in executive session and I'm not in the room, I get to keep my job at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, but seriously though, starting with prayer is, I feel like it seems like it's low hanging fruit, but it's not. I mean, why not have a direct line to God and ask him to guide the session and guide our thoughts and our directions and the things that we're going to aim to do for the people we serve?
Yeah.
Just makes sense.
Yeah, I think, and we start all, every meeting you have with our financial planner, we start with prayer because we want to be making those decisions with more guidance than we have.
Yeah. What would you say to there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business guys who are just afraid to take those small steps. I think they want to. I think there's a lot of people who want to because Jesus is alive and well in their heart. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, they're just embarrassed and there's still some attachment to other people's opinions about it. So what would you say to somebody who maybe wants to live their faith more actively, but just is starting to baby step into
That's
it?
an interesting question because I know when I started my career at CompuServe, you did not talk about politics and you did not talk about religion.
Yep.
Those were just two topics that were verboten, right? Now, both of them seem to be almost everywhere. And it's kind of sad that politics is everywhere, but at least we're able to push back with our faith. And, I was thinking about leaders today who are in that boat and thinking about what happened in Austin and what happened with Leslie. And I was remembering when I grew up, my grandfather ran the cemetery in the small town where I grew up. And so I would take walks with my grandmother in the cemetery. And, 7 or 8 years old, and I'm trying to do the math on a tombstone. And I'm like, okay, 1867 minus 1912 minus 1867. Okay, the guy's 46 years old or whatever. And she would say, well, instead of trying to do all the math on these numbers, why don't you just imagine the dash? Imagine what's in that dash between the numbers. Mm-hmm. And so I know now you don't get to know that last number on the stone, and you don't get to know the last number in your bank account. But whether you are paying attention or not, you're becoming that dash.
Yeah.
And you need to be intentional about it, and you need to consider that. Even if it sounds a little bit morbid, you don't write your own obituary or things like that, but at least consider what you're doing while you're forming that dash.
Yeah.
And, guys who get caught up in that, and sometimes it's because they want to be distracted from all the things that are going on. But at least in the chaos of this world, we can push back. And you'll see it a lot in sports now. You'll see it a lot in culture now. And I think there's something going on in this city. You see it at our church.
Yeah, for sure.
Thousands now are standing up on a regular Sunday.
Yeah. Weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the younger crowds. So we have this youth night, or not youth night, but young adult night, 18 to 25, right? On a Friday night, we'll get 700 people in church. When I was that age,
That's not what I was doing on Fridays. Yeah.
No, it was High Street or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I'm so encouraged by that, and encouraged by what I see in the younger crowd that there is still hope. And by the way, I think part of that is they're tired of being lied to. They know they're being lied to, and they're pushing back on that. So that's great.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more people just seeking truth, and there's something they need, some sort of a bedrock that hasn't changed, that they know that they can count on.
Yeah,
and they're turning back to the Lord. Mm-hmm. So it's a good segue because you've got two young adult children, mm-hmm. and the question I have two kids, and they're not adults yet. One's starting to try to act like one every now and then, which is good. Mm-hmm. We're getting there. What's it like seeing your kids now out in the world, making their mark on the world?
That is actually my favorite topic in the whole world. I know now that if the company went away and I ended up in a coma, I did my job, because they are remarkable. We're blessed with super smart people who, my daughter just started her work as a PA at Ohio Health in the bone marrow transplant group.
Oh, wow. Really?
So she'll be helping patients go through exactly what her mom did.
What a full circle
Yeah.
thing there. That's did she choose that because of?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Originally, she was going to be a vet, and then decided, you know what, seeing what Leslie went through, I think I can apply this talent in a better way. And
Yeah.
so she's doing that, started this week. My son graduated Vanderbilt and then went to Manhattan to work at BlackRock. And I don't know how he tolerates Manhattan, but I know he's doing what he's supposed to be doing right now, and he's making a difference. And hopefully he'll find his way back to the Midwest
Yeah.
at some point. But we'll see where that lands.
It's just still good. Yeah, it's got to be rewarding seeing like all the little lessons and all the compounding years of work that you tried to do to like instill something in them. They're using it. Yeah, it's got to be
And I hope that one of the lessons was I was home for dinner. Be home for dinner. Be home on the weekends.
yeah.
Because too many people, I think, I've got this work to do. That work will be there in the morning. It'll be there on Monday.
Yeah.
By the way, not related to this topic, but one of the things I've been doing lately is a form of Sabbath. So the phone goes in the drawer at 6 o'clock on a Friday night.
Yeah.
I can't touch it again for 24 hours or more. Been so, it changes everything. And I look forward to Fridays now because I know I can get rid of the phone. I also don't touch it for an hour after I wake up. So those are two little things that I think are great little practices that take us back. Give some margin for God. You have to create that margin.
Has anybody ever gotten on you about that? Like where they try to get a hold of you and they can't?
No, I will turn it on if Leslie's leaving the house and if she needs to call me or something happens. I want that phone on, but I won't look at it.
You're not going to go over there, but you turn the ringer on just in case.
No, but nobody else. If it's work, it'll be there when I get to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's great practice, and I want to keep doing it.
It's good perspective in like the never-ending world we live in now, where it seems like we have to be hyper-focused on it all the time. We're on the treadmill nonstop. We can turn it off. We are still in control of that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, a lot of us have convinced ourselves that we're not.
Are you going to do it now?
Yeah. Oh, I would. Yes, I would want to. I'll tell you what. I'll try it this week.
All right.
I'll try it tomorrow night.
Or do like 4 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Try 4 and then work your way up.
Yeah, a whole day. I feel like depending on the industry that you're in, it can feel like it's impossible. So for people that are in sales and things like that, like when you have customers that call, the problem is letting go. It's like you have to let go of a sale in order to achieve that Sabbath, because customers are pretty impatient. So if you don't answer, they will go to a competitor or they'll go to somebody else because they want their answer now. Like when they're in that mode to make a decision, regardless of what it is, they're going to go find a place to make that decision through and get the information that they want.
Yeah. We've been conditioned, I think, to expect instant gratification. Right?
So you have to be okay with knowing that, like, hey, there is a trade here. I'm trading potential business for my peace of mind and my soul and to get my spirit right with God. Mm-hmm. In my mind, it's a good trade. So I'm convincing myself right now I should probably do it. So I'll probably be taking you up on that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. At least I think so.
So I was going to ask you, am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah, okay. You can fire away.
So I think you and I sort of got serious about tithing roughly at the same time when our pastor challenged us on it, tested me in this. But you went from 0 to like 10th gear.
All of it, yeah.
Right up front. We're serious about it now, but we're not tithe foundation.
Yeah.
What do you think drove that? Was it the competitiveness in you? Was it?
No, I think, honestly, I think God gets to us all in different ways. And one of the things that clicked in my heart about it was I was coming from a place where I had worked really hard to climb a ladder and I had achieved what I thought I wanted. And it was feeling empty. I wasn't able to connect my work to anything ultimately fulfilling, at least not in my mind at that time. And I was in the process of making the transition to where I'm at now, where I'm pursuing what I think God has called me to through Tithe Lending, Tithe Foundation, some other different avenues, and things like this podcast, like helping other business folks and really even nonprofit ministry folks connect their gifts and where God has them to a real ultimate purpose of serving God and building the kingdom. So my work and money were two things that I just wasn't feeling fulfilled in anymore. So when I heard this message on tithing for the first time and really unlocked what it is, not only is it transferring treasure to heaven, it's creating this repeatable mechanism and rhythm in my life where every paycheck, every bonus, every P&L, every quarterly earning, whatever it is, where there's any kind of an increase, that moment is directly transferred into a rhythm and a repeatable mechanism that is building God's kingdom. I'm in partnership with God in this work. So it wasn't just about, it's not giving, tithing is returning. So it clicked in my heart that like, wow, God has been my source this whole time. He's been my provider this whole time. This is his return on investment in my life. And we get to do this together all the time. Now this is just like a product of what I'm doing on a weekly and bi-weekly basis. Man, it changed the way that I feel about working. So it gave me like new life and new hope.
Yeah. Because now it has a different purpose, right? Right.
So I realized the money is irrelevant.
Yeah.
And it fuels what we're doing. And it comes in handy here on earth, right?
Right.
But the dollars are irrelevant. He wants to be in partnership with me, not just once and not just every now and then, but on a regular and repeatable basis. And the tithe built that into my life. So that's where it became such a powerful thing for me.
Well, that's great. I got to tell you that those quarterly events, when we listen to the pitches, you gather a room full of like-minded, self-selected believers who want to make a difference, have an impact in this world. We get together and look at the opportunities in front of us, vote on them, and then the next morning, you're out there making a difference.
Yeah.
And it's just great to know that there's a tangible benefit from it. We're all in the room with everybody who's aligned in that interest.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it's one of the best things that's happened. I'm so glad to have been, asked to be a part of it.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, so you've been somebody that's championed really everything that we were doing from the beginning. Because when we were on that Israel trip together, this hadn't kicked off yet. It was about to kick off. I had left my old job. Israel was kind of like right in the middle of when I was between what I had left behind and what I was starting. So you got to hear like the concept before it was which is kind of what you do. At Carmen, you see that stuff all the time. When you're Carmen stuff. But you'd heard about, hey, this is what we're planning on doing before there was any evidence that we were actually going to put real activity behind it.
Yeah.
But then ever since it's been off and running, you've been an awesome supporter.
It's been great. So actually, I don't have a tithe foundation, but I was so impacted by those trips.
Yeah.
And even the trip to Turkey with the Churches of the Revelation that I wanted. Leslie and I have been talking about it a lot, and we decided we would sponsor a younger couple to be able to go on those trips.
Yeah.
So that take the affordability out of it and let them go and have that experience.
So cool.
And alter their lives in their 20s and 30s instead of when they get old like us.
Yeah.
And I hope it makes a difference.
It will, because I think about that all the time. Like, I wish more people could experience this at younger ages. I do feel like a lot of people go to Israel, they take trips like that for whatever reason. I see a lot of people that are retired or like older doing it. Yeah. I'm like, man, if they could just experience some of these things and make the Bible come to life for themselves when they were younger, what would that do to their faith and the way that they live the rest of it? So I think you're right on the money with that.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, the most impactful trip we've ever made.
Yeah.
If you can do that when you're 25 instead of 55,
I would say go for it. It's worth the investment.
Yeah.
It's heck, of all the trips you take, instead of going down to Cabo or Cancun or something, try to figure out a way to go to the Holy Land.
Now we'll have to wait a little while with this.
Yeah. A little complicated right now.
Yeah, right now.
My mom was actually supposed to go in February with their church. And it was, maybe like a week and a half. I think they would have been there like a week before everything really kicked off over in Iran. Yeah. So it was like, they didn't go.
Yeah.
And they were they were about ready to just go for it, but they didn't go.
Maybe that's the guardian angel keeping her.
Yeah, well, the whole trip got canceled because it was like, hey, it looks like these escalations are like about ready to like really like the people that they have on the ground that are like their counterparts over. They're like, yeah, these things are getting real squirrely over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking back, it was like, yeah, good timing. But well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really great.
Yeah, not only have you become a close friend, but you're somebody that's inspired me, quite a bit. Your story is obvious endurance, surrender, like all those things that I just mentioned about you. Those are things that you model all the time, not just for me, but for a lot of the people that you have influence on. So
it's great to hear.
Yeah.
I just hope that somebody, like I said, in their 20s, hears this message. And if they're starting a company, don't think you have to do it all on your own, because you don't, and you're not in control of any of it.
Yeah.
So forget that notion and just trust God. I say, keep fighting, but stop struggling.
That's good.
Be content, but not complacent.
Yeah.
Work hard, but be home for dinner. And then open your hands, keep your eyes on Jesus, and just keep running.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I'm sure those words will be words of wisdom that'll go far and wide.
Hope so.
On this show.
Yeah.
So, well, brother, yeah, we're over and out. If you if you want to get access to more shows, newsletter, books, and other resources, you can do so at markreeves.com. But thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the First in Focus show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and then share with a friend.